Welcome to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum focused and dedicated to helping sales development professionals get better at their jobs and push the practice of sales development forward. This is a place for practitioners in the trenches every day getting it done, whether they're called SDRs, BDRs, ADRs, or others. It's a team charged with creating pipeline out of inbound lead activities and outbound approaches. My name is David Delaney, and I'm the host of the Sales Development Podcast. If you've got subjects you'd like to hear covered on the show or guests you'd like to hear from, hit me up via email at david@tenbound.com or LinkedIn or Twitter, or be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you found us. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Sales Development Podcast. I am absolutely thrilled to get this guest on the show today. I'm with Nicolette Mullenix, who is the Director of Sales Development at Dynamic Signal. Nicolette, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, David. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. I've been trying to schedule this for a while. I saw you present, I believe, at the Engagio meetup a couple months ago, and I was just like, oh, man, we got to get her on the show.
Yeah, that was a great panel. That was a really solid stack of leaders.
Yeah, it was awesome. And Ray Carroll at Engagio has got to be one of the best panel, whatever they call it, like panel. Yeah, right. Exactly. Thank you. That I've seen. He keeps it light, keeps it fun, and keeps the conversation moving. But I'm just thrilled to have you on the show. You've had a great career so far in sales development, and I know that a lot of the people that listen to the show are early in their career. They're kind of getting into sales development, and they're wondering, how do I succeed and how do I move on to the next step in my career? So if you wouldn't mind, could you just give us a little bit of background? How did you get into sales development and become the Director of Sales Development at Dynamic Signal?
Yeah, I've been out in San Francisco for, 4.5 years, maybe 5 now. And when I was done with school, I honestly didn't know what I really wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to kind of get out here and get into tech. So I actually started an e-commerce company selling diamonds, strangely enough. And it's not something that really, I hit a ceiling really fast there, but I really liked the selling part of things. So, I worked with actually Betts Recruiting and got introduced to ToutApp. And I had been looking at these companies forever and these SDR jobs, and nothing just, the companies didn't seem to click with me. The product didn't seem to click. The team didn't seem to click. And, when I interviewed at ToutApp, it just felt right. I believed in the product, which, obviously is selling software to help sales development teams actually be better at their jobs and have more insight. And the team was incredible. It was a brilliant stack of young professionals that I still hold in really high regard today. So, I actually started, I had been doing full sales cycle for this e-commerce company, and I wanted to start at the very bottom because I wanted to learn everything that I could about tech. So I started as an inbound rep, one of the first ones, and then moved to outbound. And the team was still pretty small, and our director at the time, Daniel Barber, incredibly smart guy. He was doing everything from sales operations to sales development to demand gen. And so, a lot of it we had to kind of figure out on our own just through trial and error. So when we got our funding from Andreessen, we went into hyper growth mode and we just hired a ton of people, and they just kept coming to me for best practices. And I was like, hey, I think I'm pretty good at this thing. I was really competitive, really self-motivated, but I realized that I really liked the coaching aspect of things. So instead, when it kind of came down to it, long story short, it was either, I go the AE route or I kind of figure out this management thing. And it just deep down, it felt like this coaching and this management path was something I was really interested in because, sales development was still kind of new. People hadn't totally figured it out. Creating a repeatable and predictable process was something that, seemed really interesting to me. And now, here I am. We grew that team to about 16. And now I'm leading a team of 30 now with 5 managers, and we're still growing. So It's exciting.
That is amazing. That is an amazing story. And I want to dig into Dynamic Signal and what you guys are doing over there. But one key point that I pulled out of your story is that Daniel is he's an amazing guy. He's running all these different things. He's delivering the goods left and right. I love the guy. He's amazing. But you were stepping up, and the key point, I think, was people were coming to you, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people on the call could benefit of just realizing, like, if you step up as a leader and you start doing the right things and leading by example, people just kind of gravitate to you naturally. And it's almost like you're leading without a title, right?
Yeah.
Did you find that happen?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you said that, David. That's such a good point because, I had some direction and I reached out to a ton of mentors when I was trying to figure out what to do. But yeah, I mean, the thing is if you want a job, you got to really honestly be doing the job before you ask for it. And I think that's how it kind of naturally happened for me. It just it fell into my lap, and I rose to the occasion. And Daniel was giving me projects to work on because I think he saw that there was something there for me, and that I was not only helping him but helping the team. So I mean, absolutely. And I tell my SDRs, I try to manage them a position above where they are today, and even my managers, because I want them to be really good at their jobs. And the people that are actually going to step up and take ownership of those projects, get them done in a timely fashion, help their peers out, those are the ones that are going to stand out. Those are your true leaders and your future salespeople.
Exactly. And I think that people, tend to go about it backwards, and it's not like doing it out of ignorance or something, but it's like you don't necessarily want to step up because you might be making other people feel bad, or you don't want to show off or things like that. But it's not that at all. It's being a leader is leading by example and doing the right things and just not showing off or things like that. It's actually just stepping up and taking on projects and helping the manager out.
Figuring out what you're really good at and really diving deep into there and showing your value on the team. And I think there's some folks out there that may feel uncomfortable feeling like they're bragging or that they're showing off, but you also have to be a little bit of your own advocate. But you can do that in a way that doesn't rub people the wrong way. You can do it in a way where it feels like you're helping everybody.
It's not about being obnoxious and things like that. It's like you're just helping. You're a servant leader, and people end up coming to you. Next thing you know, you don't have to sit there and go, hey, I've been here for 6 months, give me a promotion. It's just natural because you've already stepped up into that role.
Yeah, and something we also did at Tout too, what I think was great for developing people and giving them ownership was when we first built our playbook, we didn't have a ton of resources, but we kind of allocated these modules of the playbook to these different SDRs. And then they owned that playbook that part of the playbook when people would be onboarded. So say, Mike is really great at cold calling. Well, he's going to teach that person how to cold call and then do cold calling sessions with them. Or maybe somebody's really good at social selling. Okay, well, Lauren, she's the point person that you're going to go to for social selling because she's got a really high in-mail response rate. Those sort of things. And we're kind of doing that at Dynamic Signal too, just, for one, an empowerment, and they're in it every day. I mean, I could stand up to the team, and talk all day long about what I think works. But, from me being an SDR then to now, there's a lot that's changed. So I think the best ideas are coming from the teams today. I
love that. And you're giving ownership, and leadership abilities to everybody on the team because they can step up and focus on what they're good at. And you don't have to take everything on. If you've got 30 people, there's no way that you can be in there updating every module of the playbook, right? So you're delegating as well.
Yep.
And the other quick thing that you mentioned is you reached out to mentors. Tell me about that, because I think that people are a little confused about how do you go about finding mentors and how do you work with mentors and stuff like that. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think the first one that I had, actually Daniel introduced me to. She works over at Examiner and she's the director of sales. And I said, I'd really like to be introduced to somebody that you would recommend me that's a woman leader. So he introduced me to her, and she's been super valuable for me. And then I was like, why stop here? There's, I could learn so much from so many people. And it's funny, we had Ralph Barcian not too long ago, and we were talking about how I got in touch with Ralph. And, I had been reading when he was at Achievers, I had been reading all of his articles about SDR best practices. And I was engaging via social with him a lot over at least a year until I finally had reached out to him. And then we actually got connected just as I was actually looking for a new spot, and I landed at Dynamic Signal. But I engaged with him and showed him that there was value in a mutual relationship. And so he's actually one of, I like to think of him as a mentor of mine. We exchange emails over the weekend sometimes. I pick his brain. We text back and forth. But identifying people that you actually really respect, but knowing that they're really busy as well. So you have to show them that there's value or in actually having that relationship, or that you're really ambitious and they see a lot of potential in you and that they'd like to mentor you. But yeah, I probably have at least 5 people that I have on hand at all time that would absolutely give me any advice that I need in a very timely manner. And that's been really important to me too, because I haven't really been doing this for that long. But my brain trust, as I'll call it, has been really influential in me getting to where I am today and being able to move fast with process and management style and just overall advice. I would not be here today if it weren't for my mentors.
I love that. That is great. It's almost like your own corporation. They're your board of directors, right? And you're
that's a great analogy. Yes, absolutely.
You're the CEO of your own career. So no CEO would not have a board.
I say that to my SDRs too. You're CEO of Me Inc. And right. You got to figure out how to run your business.
I love that. And, what advice, any thoughts on, hey, you're 22 years old, you just came out of school, and, you want to get some mentors and you want to get like a 5-person brain trust, but you're not sure how you could help them. And knowing that they're super busy, what are 2 or 3 things that people can do to help someone who's, been in the business for 20 years?
I think the thing that got me a lot of exposure was attending a lot of events. Something that I look for in candidates actually is people that are self-educated and self-motivated, that are willing to go outside of what you're going to learn every day at Dynamic Signal, and learn something else. I share events and things to my reps all the time so that they should attend. And even if they're just making relationships with other SDRs, those SDRs are going to become future leaders. Those SDRs are going to be future AEs. The earlier that you start making those relationships with, your peers or people even in higher positions than you, your name, they'll start to remember your name. They'll see you at more events. Maybe you'll sell to them eventually. So I honestly, starting that networking really, really on is super impactful. Because there's when I would speak with people as an inbound rep at ToutApp, I still see those people come across my desk. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember we chatted and we saw each other at that event one time. How are things going? So I think if you can at least one event a month, I think is really impactful. And even if you're an SDR and if you have a conversation with somebody that's say longer than 5 minutes, connect with that person on LinkedIn and then engage with them over and over.
I love that. I mean, that's something that we can all do, especially if you're in the Bay Area. It seems like you could go out once a week, and go to all these different meetups and events. It doesn't necessarily have to be just about sales development or even sales. It could be, across industries. There's so many things.
I totally agree. I try to push people outside of the boundaries of like learning about just sales and sales development all the time. Like mindfulness. That's one of those things that's, hey, there's an event on mindfulness. I think you could learn a lot about, professional and, I don't like to say the professional and personal development are different because I think that they're both the same. But there's definitely taking a break from just learning about sales and sales development, pushing it down your throat all the time. We're doing the managers here, we're reading the Checklist Manifesto, which is kind of a nice break from a sales book, right? We've got a lot to do and making checklists, like let's figure out how to talk about making new checklists every week and crossing things off and feeling like we're accomplishing things.
I think a lot of the people that listen to the podcast, obviously they're trying to self-educate and get out there. And, I was trying to make it where, SDRs could kind of get behind the conference room door and see what else, people are talking about, from a bigger perspective. And, one of those things is, like you said, it's not just all about sales and sales development. It's you can self-educate yourself on things like mindfulness and personal, organization and marketing and, just all these different topics. It doesn't have to just end.
Copywriting. You're writing emails all day, having better conversations, public speaking. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I might go do a class at the Presidio School for public speaking, so I can be even better at it. Those type of skills, especially in sales, they're always going to be relevant. It's not just, hey, what are the right questions to ask? How do I make a cold call? How do I write an email? Solid skills that you aren't gonna be taught at SKO, maybe, right?
No, exactly. It becomes an expense, but there's coaches for everything. I mean, if you go out and you go, you know what, I'm no good at this, or I want to practice this, or I get better. There's people that'll coach you, and you could also, in that mentor relationship, be like, hey, can you recommend something, or can you help me with this? And you can add value by creating introductions for the mentor. And there's coaches, there's mentors, there's books online, there's YouTube. It's like there's too much information. So, yeah.
I am a little bit of a hypocrite saying this. I'm trying to write more, but I think if SDRs can just write more about how they're finding success, there is like an SDR peer community that I don't think people are tapping into very much. Even if it's like, hey, I had a lot of success over video. And this is how I made my video. I made it via ClearSlide. I uploaded it to my mobile phone, and then I sent it out to prospects. Even as the little things as that, it doesn't have to be long. 3 paragraphs posted on LinkedIn. It gives you great exposure and starts conversations with other peers. So you can, it feels like a community that you guys are all working toward the same thing. And sales development tactics are continuing to change. Like the breakup email, that's kind of dying. So there's all these different tactics that people need to kind of keep up on that's working. For example, one of my team, they ordered these little bottles, and they bought parchment paper, and now they're writing on parchment paper and putting them in the bottles, and then they're sending them to some of the C-suite people. It's just a totally different approach than maybe what I would think about, but they're sending these messages, a message in a bottle to CEOs and CIOs to get their attention. And even little things like that, if the community, if SDRs are able to share that with each other and write about it, I think that's huge.
No, that is such a great idea, because it helps with a lot of different things. It gets your name out there, gets you involved in the community so that you can start to meet people, virtually over social, and it also helps the community to get a little bit better. And I think that SDRs, tend to get into like a rut a lot of the times, and even if they find something that works, they don't think necessarily, oh, let me share this. And there's some resources cropping up. Morgan Ingram from Terminus has a great video chat, and if you haven't downloaded that, it's on YouTube. It's SDR Chronicles, and then there's a website that's come out. It's like SDR Huddle, which is just specific tips and techniques for SDRs, and then of course, like you said, the LinkedIn blog feature gets a ton of pickup. So, more homework for everybody is, jot those ideas down, go home, pound out a blog post and get it up there, and it's a great way to help the community. So I love it. And that's actually a good segue, because I want to talk about what Dynamic Signal is doing, and if there's 2 or 3 things you guys see are working well, and maybe a couple of things that you're like, don't do that anymore.
What's working? So I'll tell you from maybe a higher level overview, and then I'll kind of dive a little bit deeper. We're growing super fast, and running sales development teams can be expensive. There's a lot of technology involved, especially in the Bay Area. You've got to pay your SDRs a good amount because it's expensive to live here. So what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to drive a lot larger deals. We're in a lot of the Fortune 500 companies, and we're trying to expand globally. But I think the big thing is to make sure that our cost to acquire $1 is low. We're trying to figure out how to drive larger and larger deals. So we're actually launching, we'll call it account-based everything. Actually, this week, we've been doing a lot of prep around it, and we're launching these pods. So a pod will be included with an SDR, an AE, sales strategy, customer success, and an account-based marketing manager. So they're going to focus on these really large companies and figure out how we penetrate. We go really, really deep into those, do specific marketing campaigns, advertising, warm up these leads for the SDRs to actually work. There's a lot that we're working on in that aspect. I think what's really worked for us recently is video. We're doing a lot of video. We're seeing about a 20 to 30% response rate. We are challenging the SDRs to do about 10 personalized videos a day. And they're typically for more high profile, higher priority prospects. But we're refining it over and over and over. We've been using ClearSlide. We're looking at using Vidyard to maybe help us scale that a little bit. But I think there's just so much noise I don't even have a desk phone. I told them to take my desk phone away. So I don't even have a phone. And I'm sure that there's a lot of leaders out there that maybe don't answer their phones, or, it's really hard to get a hold of them. I know it's hard to get a hold of me, but really figuring out how to stand out from the rest of the noise. There's so much email. There's so many bad emails. I feel like sometimes I'm jaded. I don't even want to look at emails anymore because I get so many bad prospecting emails. But if somebody sends me like a direct mail, or if somebody sends me a video or a handwritten note, even, I don't even get that many social touches. If somebody tweeted at me or direct messaged me on Twitter, those are the things that I think are being the most impactful for us right now, especially selling to these large companies. There's so many SDRs that are prospecting into the people that we're prospecting into, and we've got to figure out how to be unique.
Oh, this is so interesting. Okay, so you guys have gone the pod structure, which is a great way to get synergy around the big accounts, right? And then also you're getting away from the phone and email, dogmatic approach, and basically going out to wherever these prospects might be to contact them. Video.
And it's definitely not perfect. We were a smaller team. We were only about 10 in September. And we've almost tripled the size of the team. So our process is ever evolving, but I think what we're going toward nurturing the marketing side, nurturing the certain leads a little bit more, and having accounts surface based on, we're using Engagio, having accounts surface based on the amount of people that are engaging with the content that we're sending out, or engaging with our brand. So those are certain buying signals. And then we'll go really deep into those accounts, and we'll send video, we'll send direct mail, we'll do all of these different campaigns. I think that's definitely the area that we're trying to go to. I don't think the phone cold calling is not dead. I think there's still value in it. But there are, I think, the best practices of, you don't have to dial 100 people to get to somebody. You've got to figure out the right times, how to call them, when to call them, why you're calling them, who to call.
Exactly. I mean, you still see a lot of debate about cold calling on LinkedIn, especially. And it seems like every day someone's debating it, and it's just like, hey, it's just another channel.
It's just another
thing, right? And there's multiple different ways that people communicate nowadays, and you just need to find out what resonates with them. And it could be a call, it could be a video, it could be anything.
We had Sean Shepard in to talk to the team not too long ago over at GrowthX, and what he was saying is I think he was selling, and I thought this was such a great idea. He wrote a handwritten note to a C-level person, and it was certified, so only he could sign for it. And it was just 2 or 3 sentences. He got the meeting. And it was just that little bit, like sending certified mail, so only that person could actually sign for it. I was like, aha, my light bulb went off. Like, we should definitely be doing that.
Yeah, and then you get the little email saying he signed for it, and it's like, oh my God, it actually arrived. Okay.
Exactly. And then you can actually maybe call that person because you know that they signed for it. And they probably opened it right there.
I love it. That is awesome. And I'm really interested, just going back to the org structure that you have. So you've got the pods set up, and everyone's working really closely together on more of the enterprise side. Do you still have the traditional kind of demand gen organization for the SMB and mid-market that might come in inbound? Like, do you have a set of inbound SDRs who are going through the inbound leads, or is it all dedicated to pods?
I would think of these in like virtual pods. We don't necessarily sit in the pods, but there are like territory pods, what we'll call them.
Okay.
For our enterprise team in the US, enterprise team in the UK, and it's a new team. We're calling it our Global Strategic Accounts. There's 3 SDRs that are focused on around 30 accounts at a time. They are actually all hybrids. And when I inherited this team at first, I had this battle with myself. Like, do I divide them between inbound and outbound? And I sat on it and I didn't do it. And then, I talked to a few people and I said, nope, I'm keeping them hybrids because we're going to move to this account-based model. And, while I think what our demand gen engine is going to probably change quite a bit as we move toward this account-based model, less than just let's try to fill as many leads to the top of the funnel and see what converts. But let's nurture the ones and heat up. I guess lead scoring is probably the best term that we'll call it, and only push the ones through to the accounts that we want to surface, the accounts that we want to focus on. So if we'll call it, I don't know, Coca-Cola. So say 12 people over the last 3 months at Coca-Cola have taken X amount of marketing actions. That account's going to surface for us. This is the idea, right? The account will surface to one of the SDRs. An outsourcing team will be working on continuing to fill contacts for that account on the back end. So when that SDR is notified that there's this marketing qualified account, they already have all of these amazing contacts to reach out to immediately. So they can start going really, really deep into that account and figure out who the people that we need to talk to are.
That's if an inbound lead comes in from one of those accounts or you see some account activity happening. And then what if a lead comes in from an account that's not part of the pod or not part of the territory? Is there just sort of a generalist, or how would that work?
I think we're still figuring that out right now. But for now, that's the idea of what we're trying to get to. Right now, anything that's associated with an account within the territory that an SDR has, it should go to them. They should figure out how to qualify it. I think we have a pretty good idea since we're selling pretty much to the Fortune 1000. We have a pretty good idea of what those ones are. The corporate team is actually split inbound, outbound right now. So it's a lot higher velocity. There's a lot of accounts in there. So we actually just hired an inbound SDR, and then we have 4 outbound corporate SDRs. So we're definitely churning through the inbound leads there, but taking a really strategic outbound approach to specific accounts in corporate.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's like the further that you go up market, the more complexity you have on the deal. You want to run the account-based plays. You've got that all set up with the pods. Yep. And then as you kind of go downscale, then it's set up more of the traditional inbound and outbound approach.
It's evolving. It'll probably be a lot different 2 months from now, but we're taking baby steps to get there. But I think, so far it's working. So far we're driving larger deals. Our meeting to opportunity conversion is continuing to increase. We're getting more stakeholders involved. So yeah, I don't know. It's exciting. It's an exciting project to work on because we're really able to move fast and really innovative. It's exciting what we've got ahead.
I love it. I think we definitely need to connect you with whoever writes case studies for Engagio because they're probably dying to get some case studies that say like, yeah, we've been talking about, account-based everything for 2 years and here's someone who actually picked up the ball and ran with it and she's completely crushing it. So yeah, we'll hook you guys up.
We'll check back in 2 months and we'll see the progress that we've made.
We'll see how it goes. No, that's perfect. Okay. And so I know we're kind of getting up on the half hour, Nicolette. What are you working on, now, and what are you excited about moving forward? Is it, digging in on the account-based everything, or is there anything else that you're getting excited about right now?
That's a big portion of it. We are finishing up mapping out career progression for SDRs, what that looks like. I had inspiration, probably a while ago from Stephen Brody, probably a few years ago from MuleSoft. And I implemented it over at Tout, and now I'm implementing it here. It just gives an SDR benchmarks of really what they need to accomplish to get in the next point in their SDR tenure or graduate from the SDR team to AECS, strategy, marketing, really whatever they want to do. So that's in flux. And then, we're rolling out some really awesome technology that I think is going to be just, I'm really excited about the stack that we're building. But Chorus AI, we're trying to gain better insight into the conversation, so conversation intelligence. what's happening on the calls, what are our prospects asking, where are we slipping up, why is this rep successful and this one's not. Conversation intelligence is really what we're going to be working on for the next few months.
That is so exciting. I'm really excited for the SDRs and the managers that are on your team, that you've thought about how do we map out the career steps and get you to the next level. It's very motivational. It's a win-win,
The SDR job is hard. It is a grind. I hope that I am able to form just an awesome team here to where it doesn't feel like a grind, and it feels exciting, and you're learning every day, you're getting better every day, and you're setting yourself up really well for your career. So I think sometimes sales development gets kind of a bad rap, but obviously I love it and I'm doing it, and I want everyone to feel that it's really impactful for a business if you do it really well.
This is a great advertisement for applying for a job at Dynamic Signal. You want to work for someone like Nicolette? Because honestly, there's a lot of leaders out there who still look at the function as just like, hey, just get me meetings and pipeline, like whatever, it's churn and burn. And if you can get under the wing of a mentor like Nicolette, or like you mentioned, Stephen Brody, some of the Matt Admonson at Everstring, there's a very, it's a supportive mindset that helps people, develop their career. It helps the company because the people are happier and they're doing a better job. And, ultimately it's on the SDR to go find your mentor, go get better, go read books, like step up on your end too. But yeah, this is a good advertisement for working at Dynamic Signal.
Well, I loved the podcast that you had with Ralph, and I shared it with all of my team, because I think that if we go full circle, definitely go listen to that one, because he's such a great motivational person in general, but that tells you got to take ownership of you being successful. And I think that podcast just totally embodies how you do that.
It was a love fest. Ralph is a huge mentor to me. And he worked up show notes as well that are on the blog, daviddelaney.com. And he blew it out of the water. It's just the way that Ralph operates. I mean, he had links, he had quotes, he had further things that you could do, homework assignments, all this stuff. So I will, I'll shoot that over to you. You can share it with your team, Nicolette, and then it's on the blog, daviddelaney.com. So check it out.
Awesome. Well, thanks, David.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This is great information. I think we're going to run with this, and just have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the social channels and hopefully at one of the events.
Yeah, we'll see you soon, David. All right. Bye, everybody.
Is your sales development program firing on all cylinders? Are your people, processes, and technology aligned to get you the appointments, pipeline, and closed won you need to be able to hit your goals? Finding experts in the field of sales development is a real struggle, but you have to hit your pipeline numbers today, not sometime in the future when you can step back and take a wider look at your program. Tenbound is ready to help. Head over to tenbound.com for more information and to sign up for a free assessment of your current program. That's tenbound.com.